What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs and Raids, back with another Outriders video to bring to you, and today we're going to be looking at the highs and the lows of the skill for Impale, which was for the Devastator class. Now, I do think this one kind of deserves its own video to be able to talk about, because Impale was the one skill that was highlighted to me in the trailers. It was the one skill that really drew my attention towards Outriders, and Impale was the main reason that we actually, you know, Babylon kind of got off to a good start with Outriders in the first place. Because if it wasn't for Impale being shown in the trailers and the animation for like getting the kills or anything like that, then it wouldn't have inspired people like myself or Dan or Ben to be able to go out, have a look at some of the gameplay trailers, to then find some of the people that were ambassadors at the time, to then obviously look into the demo, to then look into the main game, and then obviously, as it turns out for ourselves, we started making content, becoming ambassadors for ourselves. So it's really strange to think about, but Impale is the main reason as to why we are here right now. And you know, I've got Impale will always have a soft spot, will have a safe place in my heart, and you know, I absolutely love the skill. But I have to agree with a lot of people when it comes to like in the Outriders Discord and the Outriders community, that Impale requires a lot of mods to be able to get right, to be able to it takes a lot of investment for sometimes little gain to be able to, you know, succeed well as a Devastator, and I don't think that should be the case. You know, the Seismic Commander kit is pretty much there to be able to, you know, inflict extra damage against bleed, and the Impale kit is perfect for that, because not only does it inflict bleed, it's able to actually do it. It's also got its own tier 1 mod that allows it to be able to do extra damage against enemies that are bleeding, and you just think that it's going to stack up to be like something absolutely amazing. And while it can hit for millions of damage, the long cooldowns hold it back. The fact that you have to gear into it so much when it comes to tier 1 mods and tier 3 mods, it's just, yeah, it kind of falls short compared to something like Earthquake, which Earthquake is quite easy to be able to gear up. You know, mostly all you need to be able to do is just put bleed on the Earthquake, and then, you know, just increase its range and maybe add in a couple of extra Earthquakes, you know, here or there. And some of these are already feature on the legendary set, so it's not like you have to go in like too much into it. It's, you know, on the other side of things, when it comes to like Gravity Leap, well, you can go down like the damage route, and you can go down the bleeding route. You can easily go for the debuff kind of side of things, and all you need then is just one mod. So I do think that Impale needs to be looked at before World Slayer does release. In its current state, it's okay. It's kind of low tier, and I don't see a lot of Devastators run this, and they quite happily just kind of ignore it, and I understand why. But I want Impale to be, you know, like I said, I might be biased on this because it got me into the game, but I want Impale to be that one skill. I want it to be absolutely amazing. I want it to be on par in communication, in talks with other people in the Discord, for it to be, you know, one of the top tier choices for a Devastator. You know, they've put so much love into that killing animation that was shown in the trailers, and which I'll show up on the video very shortly. And you know, it's a shame that we don't get to see that very often. You know, it's got different animations for all the elites as well. So you've got things changing from humanoid enemies to Perforos to Broodmothers to Behemoths, etc., etc. And currently we can't see that, and you know, whoever's like spent time and love and attention to be able to get that detail right, we're just not seeing the fruit of its labour, and it's a bit of a shame. And so I want to see Impale get something when World Slayer drops, but unfortunately it's kind of unlikely we're going to see anything happen to the game in terms of like any kind of like changes or anything like that until World Slayer actually will officially drop. I believe all the devs and from what we understand are pretty much focusing on that right now, so unless something like urgent or like an urgent bug or something like that just materializes, you know, that's what they're going to focus on, and that's completely understandable. So this is my plea to be able to get something for Impale. I just want to discuss like a few ideas. I want to suggest what I would like to see, and I also want to open it up to the comment section. I want to see what, you know, maybe it's not just Impale for yourselves, because I would be interested to see what other kind of like suggestions you know, you lot have. I want to see those in the comment section down below. But I also want to know, is there one skill that got your attention, grabbed you when you first saw the trailer for Outriders? Is there something that was there that went, do you know what, that's the one, that was the class for me, that's the reason why I'm picking them, that's the one skill I want to be able to use? Maybe it's Slowfield, maybe it's You know, maybe it's the anomaly blades that the tricksters have. Maybe it's you know, maybe it's technomancers with their minigun. Maybe it's something like that. You know, maybe it's pyromancers with the fact that they were able to summon volcanoes, you know, out the floor or something like that. The choice is endless. Let me know in the comment section down below, what is your one skill that drew your attention when it came to Outriders, that made you go, right, that's my favourite. And you know, suggest something. Maybe even have some suggestions for ones that aren't quite top tier at the moment, what you would like to be able to see to be able to make them a bit more viable. So I'm going to show a little bit of gameplay in the background just to be able to show pretty much how Devastators currently cope with them at the moment, but also to show how many mods you kind of need to be able to make them even semi-decent. And you know, when it comes to what I would like to be able to see them get, like some kind of update, you know, it would be easy for me to be able to say it needs a cooldown reduction. Earthquake in itself is on a very short cooldown, anywhere between 5 or 6 to 8 seconds, I think it is, and the fact that you can have 3 earthquakes in that amount of time, just on a constant cooldown, and you know, that's quite quick for a skill. That's you know, it's quite insane, and you know, I wouldn't want to see Impale go to that kind of like length, but I think Impale is currently over 20 seconds at this moment in time, and the fact that, you know, that's a long time to be able to wait for some kind of skill. So I'd like to see, you know, get cut like maybe by a third, maybe even in half, or maybe give us some mod that allows us to be able to do something like that. I understand though, like I've just said, that it's very mod intensive, but I do think that if the cooldown was like, let's say for example there's a tier 3 mod that reduces the cooldown by half, you know, you wouldn't necessarily need to invest in damage as much, similar to like Earthquake, because Earthquake doesn't do a massive amount of damage by itself at this moment in time anyway. So you can actually use Impale to be able to set up bleed. You can use Impale as alongside to be able to mix and match, to be able to alternate between Earthquakes and your Impales, and by the time you've done your Impales, then your Earthquakes are back, and by the time you've done your Earthquakes, your Impales are back. You know, it'll be a nice little gameplay loop, so you don't have to use guns, for example. So, you know, I'd be happy with something along those lines. The other thing to do is maybe just buff up its standard damage. The main thing for the mods at this moment pretty much require it to be able to, you know, deal the damage that it is, to make it worthwhile for the current cooldown that it has. The only other change I would maybe suggest is, you know, increase the amount of targets that it hits. So Earthquake's quite popular because the fact that obviously it travels in a line and it can hit multiple opponents or multiple enemies as it travels through the world. Whereas Impale, I believe, as standard only hits 1 target. And obviously you can get some mods that are able to increase the amount of targets, increase the amount of times you can cast it. I think I've managed to get it to, within 3 casts, be able to hit 12 enemies, which, don't get me wrong, is very good, and you know, overall it's very satisfying to see all those damage numbers pop up. But you know, even if we increase the targets by 1, you know, or maybe up to 3, for example, and we can still keep those other mods in case we need them to be able to inflict to so many more enemies. I don't think it's overpowered. I don't think it would just absolutely make Impale the must run skill. But it would just make it so much easier to be able to use, and you know, it gives it a little bit more of a viability, because it currently is a bit of a laughingstock, and people pretty much kind of avoid it like the plague. You know, there's only die-hard people that absolutely love Impale, like myself, that would only really kind of use it, and I just think it needs a little bit more love and attention to it. But like I said, let me know in the comments section down below, what are your thoughts on this? Is Impale, you know, the skill that you want to see get buffed in when it comes to World Slayer? Is Impale your one true skill that obviously you saw when it came to the trailer and obviously highlighted to yourself that this is the game to be able to play? Or is it something else? And is there something else that you would like to be able to see get buffed when World Slayer gets dropped? Let me know in the comment section down below. I will be reading through every single one of those, and I would love to be able to have a discussion with every single one of you. So you'll notice the background has changed a little bit because I did actually leave a comment over on the Outriders Discord, and the reason why is because I wanted to get some other people's opinions so we can actually flash up some of the Discord comments on there. So we did have 2 main people that actually did come back to us, and if you're over on the Discord you probably will recognise them, so they will be Mediocre and Halfwit, and thank you so much for taking part, and like I said, by all means drop your comments in there. I would love to be able to see what you're thinking as well. But as we have a look, so Mediocre says that in terms of what you need to be able to make Impale actually pretty decent or pretty viable, it's going to need a hefty cooldown reduction and less mod reliance to be usable. So pretty much what we've already considered. So, but I do wholeheartedly agree with that. I do think that it does require a lot of mods to be able to obviously make it into the skill that it needs to be able to compete with CT15. And yeah, it would be nice to be able to see that cooldown reduction, but yeah, whether it's like by a third, whether it's by half, you know, it is yet to be seen, but I'd like to be able to open up a few more thoughts on that. If we go from there to, I had to add this one from Halfwit because this was the first comment. Now, in case you haven't noticed, well, in case you haven't been over to the Outrise Discord, if you haven't already, make sure you head over there. But the Halfwit is like one of the main residents that pretty much knows quite a lot about when it comes to Devastators. He's pretty much been there from the start, as far as I'm aware, and overall, is a pretty sound guy, to be fair. But the first quote he did, I did say, please just don't put just it's poop. And he came back saying it's pretty much just shit. But Impale is fun but shit, but needs to be made better. And I do wholeheartedly agree with this, and the reason why I'm showing this one is because it did actually make me laugh the first time I saw it, and ironically I do in a way kind of agree with it. But we also have he does agree with what Monica says, takes too much investment mod-wise, cooldown is pretty kind of bad, but it should be considered similar to like Phaser for Pyros, where there should be mod for the 50% cooldown reduction, and we need many of the tier 1s built into the standard skill. So pretty much what Mediocre's already said, pretty much what we've already established in the video, and you know, like I said, it would be nice to be able to have like maybe a mod that obviously does offer that 50% cooldown reduction, and yeah, I can't really disagree with that. I do think that's pretty much spot on. But then he kind of came back with something that I wasn't really expecting, which was a way to actually, you know, change Impale for something better. There's like a different way to be able to go with the skill, and it does sound kind of interesting, to be fair. Where we'd like to see where it goes, like a tap, depending. So it's almost like a channeling skill in a way, where if you just tap it, it just gives loads of little spikes, so it can affect like an area, or it can affect multiple enemies at the same time. But if you keep it down, it ends up channeling all those spikes into one big spike to be able to deal with an elite and obviously focus all that damage. And yeah, do you know what? I can't really argue with that. I do actually think that's a really nice change for that, because one, it would deal with the targets. It would deal with the fact that we don't need as many mods to be able to target so many enemies, because obviously that's built into the skill then. And then obviously it would help with the damage a little bit, because if you just wanted to be able to deal with one person over like a massive group, you could then just charge it, and you could, obviously all that damage would then obviously go straight into that one elite or one enemy, compared to all those kind of like smaller enemies, or the mobs, or the trash, as we like to call them. So I think that's a really nice suggestion. I don't know how that would get coded in. I don't know if that would be something that PCF and Square Enix would be interested to be able to see, as to how skills can actually be changed or modified going forward. But I do think that's a very nice change, and you know, I've got to give credit to Halfwit for that one. I do think that's really nice. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below as well. Is this something that you'd like to be able to see? Is this something that would actually be interesting to you? Is this something that would actually encourage you to be able to play Impale? Let us know down below. Anyways, that's enough of a rant from me. I'm sure you've heard enough more than enough about me from the skill of the Impale. So, like I said, make sure you drop your comments in the comment section down below. I'm very interested and very looking forward to the fact of what other kind of mods, what other kind of skills you guys and girls are pretty much running out there in the Outriders community. But that just leaves me to say thank you so much to the Babylonian family. Their names will appear at the end of every single one of our videos, and if you want to be able to get in there, you know what to do. Click on that join button and be able to get yourselves there. And every single bit of that money goes straight back into the channel. So thank you all so much. Thank you to the Babylonian family. And as always, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, and I'll see you all on our next video.